You are about to give in the case now before the court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Put that there.
Seems like evening, doesn't it?
I've been inside all day. I have no idea.
You and me both. Could you state your name and spell it for the record, please?
Yes, my legal name is Gwenyth Kate Paltrow Falchuk. That's Gwyneth Kate Paltrow Falchuk.
Great, thank you. May I call you Miss Paltrow?
Sure.
Okay, fantastic. As you've seen the last few days, we always have the witnesses give background information, tell about yourself, etc. I have a feeling that everybody in the courtroom knows who you are, so we're not going to go through all the background. We're just going to kind of cut to the chase. Is that fair?
Sounds fine.
All right, wonderful. Let's just talk about skiing. My understanding is that you are pretty much an intermediate type skier.
I would characterize myself as intermediate.
Okay, you've been skiing since you were a child.
I have.
Okay. Do you do black diamonds, blues, greens? I'm not really a skier, so you've got to kind of help me out with this.
I prefer to do more blues than blacks.
Okay. And blue is intermediate, right, under black?
Yes.
Okay. And the bandana run where this accident occurred, it was a green run?
Yes, to
All
my
right.
recollection.
Fantastic. So as an intermediate skier, would you say that you skied enough to at least be familiar with the rules of skiing?
I think so, yes.
All right, and what are those rules?
I think, use common sense, ski safely, be aware of other skiers around you.
Okay. What about skiing in control? Is that something that you need to do?
Yes, absolutely.
You have to give the right of way to those who are downhill.
Yes.
Okay. You also have certain responsibilities if you're in a collision. Is that fair?
Yes, which I learned more about post the collision.
I bet. You've probably been hit over the head with all of that information since the time, right?
Indeed.
Okay. So let's talk about those things. Did you know the rules at the time of the collision that if you're in a collision with someone, you need to give your name and information, contact information?
So because I was hit by Mr. Sanderson and he was at fault, I assumed that Eric, who was our ski instructor who was there at the time, who was overseeing the event, he said, I'm going to leave all of your information, and he said, you should go ski down because my kids were waiting for me.
And I appreciate that, but my question was, did you know of the rule of skiing if you are in a collision that you need to share that information?
Your Honor, this is irrelevant. This is not a part of their negligence claim.
Overruled. I've overruled. Go ahead.
Can you repeat the question?
Absolutely. At the time of the collision, were you aware of the rule that if you're in a collision, you need to share your name, your contact information with the person that you're involved in a collision with?
I don't think I was aware of the rule.
Okay. Were you aware that there is kind of a rule of common decency to do that?
I would not have left the scene without leaving my information, and my information was left.
Did you provide that information?
No, Eric Christensen, who was the ski instructor with us, said he would leave all the information.
You don't know if he did or did not, though, do you? You weren't there when he did.
Well, subsequently, I know that he did.
I'm not asking that. I'm asking when you were there at the collision, you didn't ensure that it was given. You weren't there when it was given.
I was not there when it was given.
Question, Your Honor.
All right. And it's also, I think you even admitted in your deposition that it's the rule of common decency to make sure that everybody's okay, exchange information, and to follow those skiing rules. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about that day after I get a drink.
Okay. I'll have one as well.
Do you have what? Oh, you have some
I
water?
do. Thank
okay,
you.
Great. So I just want to kind of set the stage. You're skiing that day. My understanding it was nice conditions, beautiful day?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a
Yes.
yes? Sorry. And Deer Valley, we know that Deer Valley is always immaculately groomed. Good conditions on the slopes.
Good conditions.
All right. You were skiing that day with your daughter, Apple, correct?
Yes.
Moses.
Mm-hmm. My son.
And Brad Falchuk, who was your boyfriend at the time, now current husband.
Correct.
All right. And his 2 children.
That's right.
Right. And his kids were the same approximate age as yours on the day of the ski collision.
They all remain the same age.
That's a
As each
very,
other.
very good point.
We're like the Brady Bunch. Girls are the same age, boys are the same age.
All right. And back then, it was 12 and 9?
11 and 9.
11 and 9. All right. Fantastic. And the day of the collision, I think you had been to Deer Valley twice prior to that
I
time?
believe so.
Okay. And this was the first day of your ski trip.
I think that's correct.
Okay. And I don't know how many days you were there, but I know, at least from what you've told us, that after that first day, you also skied the next day.
Yes.
Okay. So when Mr. Sanderson was at home, you were skiing.
I don't know.
Okay. Fair enough. So the children, all 4 of them, had lessons during that trip.
That's right.
Okay. Would you agree that those lessons were fairly expensive?
They were.
Okay. Do you remember about how much they were?
I would have to check. Whatever the Deer Valley rate is what we paid.
Okay. Let me know if this is about right. At least from what I saw in your deposition, the total bill was around $8,980. Does that sound about right for 4?
I think that misstates the evidence. I think that was for both families.
For 4 kids.
I would honestly have to check,
Okay. All right. That's fine.
but it's very expensive.
Very expensive.
Very.
Right. And then tips on top of that.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm assuming, and you're under oath here, that you're a good tipper.
Yes.
Okay. Fantastic. I wouldn't expect anything less. All right. So let's talk about your daughter, Apple. She was 11.
She was?
Okay. And her instructor was Carrie Oakes.
That's correct.
All right. And Apple at the time was a good beginner.
Yes.
Okay. And your son, Moses, he was 9 at the time.
Yes.
And he was more so of a real beginner.
Yes.
All right. And his instructor was Eric Christensen.
Correct.
Okay. And I think both Carrie Oakes and Eric are coming next week.
I believe so.
All right. Fantastic. So 3 days ago, can you believe it's been only 3 days?
No.
Me neither. So 3 days ago, Mr. Owens, in his opening, talked about risky behavior, risky skiing. And he made mention that, of course, Ms. Paltrow was not skiing recklessly, not taking any kind of risky behavior because her children were there that day. Do you recall him saying that?
I think it does misstate my testimony, but
Well, it wasn't testimony that you stated.
my argument.
Can you answer the question?
If I remember what he said?
No, just maybe do you agree with that? That on that day of the collision, you were not engaging in any kind of risky behavior, especially
Correct.
because your kids were there.
I was not engaging in any risky behavior.
Okay, but also, and I think your counsel made mention of this in opening, that especially because your children were there.
I don't recall him saying that.
All right, well, did your children being there make it so that you especially would not engage in risky behavior?
I didn't engage in risky behavior. I wouldn't with my children there or without my children there.
Okay. And kind of in life, I mean, I'm a mom, right? I've got a couple kids, actually about your age, and one of them, not your age, your daughter's age. Sorry, I'm not that old. When my kids are around, I kind of behave myself a little bit better, especially when they were younger, than on average. Would you agree with that?
I've always been very open and honest with my kids, and I think they know me very well.
Right. And would you agree that you have engaged in risky behavior with your children present?
Your Honor, may we approach?
Sure. We're all back, thank you. So the objection is sustained, and the jury should disregard the question.
All right, let's go back to the day of the accident.
Okay.
So you're on Bandana, correct? It's a green run. It's true you were relatively familiar with that run, correct?
Yes, my children especially like that run.
Okay. And the accident happened towards the beginning of the run. Is that accurate?
Not at the top, but
Sure, but
Yeah.
not at the bottom?
correct.
All right. And it sounds like, from what I have heard and reviewed, you had done about 4 to 5 runs that day, and you and kind of the group were going to go get some lunch with everyone.
Correct.
All right. So let's talk about, as you're skiing down, Apple, we've talked about she was 11, Moses was 9. Did your children, when they were skiing or doing anything that kids do, like to ask you to watch them?
When they were very little, I remember, watch me jump in the pool and things like that. When they were more like 4 or 5 years old, that sort of age.
So when Moses was 9, he didn't say, "Mommy, Mommy, watch me," or "Mom," I don't know what he called you, but
Mama.
Mama, watch me do things.
Not that I recall on that day.
Okay. Do you remember testifying that on that day, that's exactly what did happen?
I don't remember.
All right, and I'll show you your deposition in just a second. So in fact, you remember the deposition, right?
Yes.
It was actually during 2020. It was during COVID.
Yes.
So it was via Zoom. We've never actually met in person. It was kind of on the video. And you were asked a question a number of times. Were your children asking you to watch them? And you said no. I think you.
I don't remember them saying,
Okay.
watch me on that day.
Okay. Well, do you remember that in that deposition, then we played you parts of Carrie Oakes' deposition?
So, Your Honor, this is improper impeachment. I mean, what's the question that's being contested?
We're just kind of going through the history here.
Not through the deposition. Let's
I'll
hear.
allow a few questions. I think counsel was referring to what was going on during depositions, but
Yes.
please get quickly to the
Abso-
question.
Absolutely. Do you remember during your deposition being played just a portion of Apple's instructor, Carrie Oakes, her deposition, wherein she said that, yes, Moses was saying, "Mommy, Mommy, watch me."
That she was saying, I don't remember, that while they were skiing, they were saying that?
Yeah.
I don't remember that, no.
All right. Okay. And so you don't remember then changing your testimony in your deposition, admitting that that is what happened?
I'm sure if Carrie Oakes said, I'm saying, I don't remember him saying, watch me, watch me.
Okay. May I approach, Your Honor?
You may.
I'm going to hand you a copy of your deposition.
I'm going to need my reading glasses, unfortunately. Sorry about that.
I don't think there's a contradiction here, Your Honor. She said she doesn't recall that Carrie Oakes said something. So I don't know why we can't just move forward.
Overruled. Go ahead.
Thank you. Could you turn, let's see here, to page 122 of your deposition?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm going to read the question that was given by Mr. Sykes. Everybody's going to know it's Mr. Sykes who asked the question when I read it. Then I'm going to have you answer. Now, Ms. Paltrow, and this is, I'm sorry, I apologize, I'm starting on line 4.
Okay.
Okay. Now, Ms. Paltrow, isn't it true, I'm just a country lawyer here, okay? Isn't it true that your kids wanted to watch you ski? Or, pardon me, that the kids wanted you to watch them ski. Isn't that true? And your counsel, he objected. How did you answer that question?
Let's read the objection, Your Honor, if we're going to do this.
The objection was vague as to time.
Do Do you want me to rule on the objection? I mean,
If we're going to read it, then we should read the objection.
Okay, read it.
Yes, the objection said vague as to time.
Yes.
Yes, and then how did you respond?
I said I can still watch my children ski and be skied directly into my back by someone,
And then you continued.
which is what happened.
Exactly. So you were watching your children when you alleged that you were skied directly into your back by someone.
My daughter was down the hill. My son was to my left. So I was skiing. My eyes were not fixated only on my son when Mr. Sanderson skied directly into my back.
Okay. And so when Miss Oakes, who's going to testify next week, said that your son Moses was saying, "Mommy, Mommy, watch me," that's who you were watching, right?
That's vague as to time, Your Honor.
Right.
Minute,
Yes.
just overruled. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Sorry, what was the
Yeah.
question?
When Moses is saying, "Mommy, Mommy, watch me," that's who you were looking at when you were when you were skied directly into your back.
I do not recall Moses saying, "Mommy, Mommy, watch me" on the ski slope.
Okay. Well, Apple was down further, right?
Yes.
She didn't see it.
No.
Okay. And Moses, he was the one, at least according to Carrie Oakes, was calling your attention.
Okay.
Okay. 9-year-old, did he want more attention to have somebody watch them rather than 11?
Not necessarily.
Okay. Moses was skiing above you, though, right? He hadn't gotten down as far as you.
He was on my left.
And up.
I was on the right. He was, oops, sorry. He was on the left side of the slope. Yes, I believe kind of a little bit uphill.
Okay. And that's where your attention was when you were hit, allegedly, in the back.
I don't know where my attention was the moment I was struck in the back. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, that's what you said, which is what happened.
He struck me in the back. Yes, that's exactly what happened.
Okay, I know, but you said, "I can still watch my children ski."
Yes,
and he's
meaning
directly into my back by someone, which is what happened.
Yes, exactly.
What's the pending question? It sounds like they're saying the exact same thing.
What's the question?
The question is, you were watching your children ski when you were struck in the back.
So that's asked and answered, Your Honor.
Overruled?
I was skiing and looking downhill as you do, and I was skied directly into by Mr. Sanderson.
And your 9-year-old son, you will admit, was on your left and up a bit.
To my recollection.
Okay. All right. And Carrie Oakes is the one who says that he was the one calling your attention.
You'll have to speak to Miss Oakes.
We will. All right. So, I want to go through the accident a bit. Because we did this over video, we didn't really get to act it out a whole heck of a lot. But I want to just kind of talk with you first and see if this is your recollection of how it happened.
Your Honor, I think this is improper. She should just ask her what happened. Then if she testified contrary to that earlier, then she cross-examines her with the deposition.
And what's the objection?
Improper use of deposition testimony.
It's a party. Under Rule 32, it can be used for any purpose. You may
Okay.
proceed.
Thank you. You were going along relatively slowly. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just going to kind of ask you a couple
Sure.
questions. So let me know if anything I say is not accurate.
Okay.
So you're going down relatively slowly when all of a sudden you heard a strange rustling noise behind you.
Yes.
Okay. And you felt like a rush of air in a strange way.
Yes.
Okay. And 2 skis slid in between my skis.
That's correct.
And all of a sudden, there was a body from the whole front of a body pressing into my back.
That's right.
Okay. Like, we'll talk about this in a minute. And there was a man behind me pressing into me. How did you know it was a man?
Because he was making some strange noises that sounded male, and he was large. So I assumed it was a male.
Okay, he was large?
I felt all my back
Okay.
pressing.
Okay. All right, there was a man pressing behind me, pressing into me. I was extremely upset.
Well, I was confused at first, and I didn't know exactly what was happening. It's a very strange thing to happen on a ski slope.
I agree.
And I froze, and I would say I got very upset a couple seconds later.
Okay. Let me just continue on here. I just want to make sure that I got this all right. I didn't know if it was an intentional assault of a sexual nature.
Right.
Okay. Was he grinding and thrusting or something, or just the noises? What made you think it was a sexual assault?
So that was a quick thought that went through my head when I was trying to reconcile what was happening. I was skiing, and two skis came between my skis, forcing my legs apart, and then there was a body pressing against me, and there was a very strange grunting noise. So my brain was trying to make sense of what was happening. I thought, is this a practical joke? Is someone like doing something perverted? This is really, really strange. My mind was going very, very quickly, and I was trying to ascertain what was happening.
Okay. I think you said, I didn't know if it was an accident, but he was groaning and grunting in a very disturbing way.
Yes, there was a sort of groan coming out of his mouth.
Okay. Then you said, I froze.
Yes,
We kept skiing.
right.
We went to the right.
Yes,
We came crashing down together.
that's right.
Okay. You said this man was behind me on the mountain. My knee and our skis were still sort of tangled up.
Yes.
Is that yes?
Yes, sorry.
Our bodies were almost spooning, and I moved away quickly.
Yes,
And my knee splayed open, and I was completely in shock.
yes.
Okay. All right. I'm going to stop there.
Okay.
And if the court and Ms. Paltrow, if you don't mind, since, again, when we did this over Zoom, would you mind stepping down and us kind of acting this out a little bit so I could get a good feel?
Let's see. Can we approach, Your Honor?
Sure.
court doesn't mind if I act it out, correct?
Let's just get a sustained.
Yeah, the objection was sustained as requested, but, you're welcome to move around the courtroom.
Wonderful, thank you. Do you have a microphone?
Yes. Testing.
Okay, Ms. Paltrow, so your counsel doesn't want you to come down, so I'm not
Your
going to ask
Honor,
you to come down.
that's inappropriate. The judge sustained the objection, so she shouldn't comment on what I want. It's what the judge wants.
The objection was sustained.
I am going to try and be both you and Mr. Sanderson at the same time.
Let's
Fair?
have Bob. Bob can be.
Your Honor, let's have Mr. Sanderson. He's here. Let's
No,
have him come.
I don't want to. We're not going to reenact what happened. I think you can ask questions, and
Yes.
if you want to stand and move around in order to help
Perfect.
you with those questions, you can do that. But that's as far as we're going to go.
That's not a problem at all. All right, so since you're not down here, may I ask how tall you are?
I'm just under 5'10".
Okay, I am so jealous.
I think
'cause
I'm shrinking though.
You and me both. I have to wear 4-inch heels just to make it to 5'5".
Wow,
So
they're very nice.
Well, thank you. So, all right. So, as of right now, I'm Gwenyth Paltrow.
Okay.
Okay. I'm skiing down. Can you tell me with my legs? I don't know. Again, I'm not much of a skier. Are you snow plowing? Are you parallel? Kind of orient my legs first of all. Sorry. I can do this. I can do this.
Not snow plowing, just
Okay.
skis.
All right.
It's hard for me to see where you're standing.
May she come down just to see?
You can.
Is that
go to where
okay?
you can see better. Or you can walk further forward, Ms. Van
Oh,
Orlen.
sure. Great. No problem. All right. So,
The jury, you can go ahead and stand or move wherever you feel you need to see what's going on here.
all right. So, are my feet oriented correctly?
Yes.
Go ahead and tell me how to move them.
I think, skiing down, going to the right.
Okay. So
Okay,
about
probably a little bit further apart.
about like that.
And then 2 skis slide slowly between my skis.
All right. So my feet are about what, a foot apart? Would you say 18 inches?
Probably.
Okay. And you believe that 2 skis slid right between.
That is correct.
Okay. And so all of a sudden you see these 2 skis coming in between your
Yes.
legs. I would have freaked out too.
And I did.
Okay. So the skis are coming. How far did the skis get in between your legs before you guys fell?
His body pressed up into my back.
Okay.
So I froze. I don't know exactly how far the skis would have come through.
Okay.
Because then I noticed his body pressing against my back.
Okay.
And then it was probably a few good seconds, and then we fell to the right. Somebody must have caught an edge.
Okay. So when you froze and you're skiing together, I think you said at one point it was like you were spooning.
Well, when we fell down, we fell. I fell on his body. He fell on the ground. And so it was kind of like a spoon on the ground.
Okay. So
Your Honor, the defendant has come into well of the court here.
Why can't we see it to the plane? That's fine.
I think it's fine. I think it's fine.
okay. Well, now that Mr. Sanderson is here, and I don't need you to do anything, Terry, but just for comparison's sake, I'm in my heels. We're about the same height, about 5'5" with heels.
It's roughly.
Oh, tell me I'm taller, please. Okay, so we've got Mr. Sanderson that's about 5'5" that comes in back of you, and you said that you felt something huge. What was your word
No,
behind
just
you?
a big
A big
body.
A big body. All right. And was it just the front of his body that touched the back of your body?
I couldn't see in the back of my head,
Sure.
but I felt a body
Right.
press against my back.
But there was no grabbing, like he didn't like grab your waist or grab your
No,
arms?
not at all. No,
Nothing like that?
nothing.
Okay. All right. So skis slide between you kind of freeze, you end up, maybe your skis kind of cross, you end up going down. Would you agree that Mr. Sanderson fell to the ground and then you fell on top?
I don't know if it was simultaneous. I don't remember.
Right. But you didn't fall and hit the ground, correct?
I don't remember exactly where I hit,
Okay.
but I fell over
All right. And
with Mr. Sanderson.
right. And Mr. Sanderson fell and hit the ground.
Yes.
All right. So going back here, you guys are on the ground. Now you realize, right? You're not saying to the jury that this was in any way, shape, or form a sexual assault.
I am not saying that.
Okay.
I'm just saying what went through my mind for a split second when it was happening.
All right, great. So you're down on the ground, and then you started yelling at him.
I don't remember if I started yelling at him while I was on the ground. I remember pushing away because I was very upset, and it was still very strange to me what had happened. And I pushed down the hill, and I turned around and I yelled at him.
Okay. Did you scream before you went down?
I don't think so.
Okay. So if others heard a scream, you wouldn't, that wasn't you?
No, I froze. When he slid between my skis, I absolutely froze. And I don't remember yelling or screaming until I was very angry at what had happened.
Okay. And so you guys are on the ground, and then you said to him, I think you don't know if you were up or if you were still on the ground, but he was still on the ground, right?
Yes.
When you said, "What are you doing?"
Yes.
Okay. Like, why did you do that?
Yes.
And he said, "I think you skied into me."
Yes.
And that's when you were furious and said, "You skied directly into my effing back at the
Sorry.
top of your lungs."
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I apologize for my bad language.
And well, in fact, you were screaming that so hard, you were worried that Moses was hearing you.
Yes.
Okay. And after you were screaming to him, isn't that when Mr. Sanderson said, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry"?
He said, I said, "You skied directly into my effing back." And he said, "Oh, sorry, I'm sorry."
Right. And that was you screaming at him while he's on the ground still, right?
I was yelling at him.
Pretty loud, pretty forceful,
I was pretty upset.
right? You're
Yeah.
small but mighty. Actually, you're not that small. So when he said, "I'm sorry, would you agree that he kind of mumbled it?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And then you remember Eric came over, Eric Christensen.
Yes.
Who was Moses's instructor.
Correct.
Okay. And that was when you were concerned that, oh gosh, Moses is close by. He's hearing me yell obscenities at this man.
Which is not my custom.
Right. And I think you said that. And at some point, the man stood up and we were all sort of talking.
Yes.
What conversation did you have with Mr. Sanderson standing up?
I wasn't having a conversation with him. Eric was helping him up and asking if he was okay.
Okay. Eric eventually yanked him up, right? He pulled him up.
He helped him up.
Okay. He didn't get up on his own accord.
He helped him.
And were you still standing right there when he helped him?
I believe I was, yes.
You sure you hadn't skied down a little bit? 'Cause
I might have skied down a little bit. My son was down a little bit, and my now husband came over at some point.
Okay.
So I remember moving away from Mr. Sanderson after he collided into me and we hit the ground.
Okay. And do you remember, we heard from Craig Ramone, he was the first individual who testified. Do you remember him coming to the scene?
I do not.
You don't remember him at all?
No,
You don't remember him being there or asking you, "Are you okay?"
I do not.
Okay. You don't remember him asking Terry if he was okay?
I don't recall.
Okay. All right. And then I think what you've said is Eric told you, I'm going to handle this. And that's what I think you've said people do. They handle things for you.
I don't believe I said that.
You've never said that?
I believe what I said was in the acting world, that's a world of representatives. So you have an agent who represents you. And so if they say, you know, I'm going to provide information, you allow somebody to represent you. So when Eric, as an accredited Deer Valley ski instructor, said to me, I'll fill out the paperwork, he knew also that my daughter was at the bottom waiting for me to come for lunch or at the lunch place.
And so Mr. Christensen handled it for you.
Mr. Christensen stayed and filled out the report, made sure Mr. Sanderson was okay, and said to me, you can go ahead.
Okay. How do you know that if you weren't there?
Because he told me.
Okay. That's what he told you.
Yes.
But you weren't there to see it.
He told you you can leave. He wasn't there. I object to the form. I don't understand the question.
Sustained. Go ahead with your questions.
You weren't there when the paperwork or the exchange of information was given, fair?
Fair.
All right. And would you agree that Mr. Christensen did not see the incident, didn't see the collision?
Correct.
Okay.
He just saw us right afterwards.
Right. But, and in fact, nobody from Deer Valley saw the collision.
Correct.
Your kids didn't see the collision.
That's right.
Okay. The only person that, and you may not be aware of this, the only person who says that they saw the collision was Mr. Ramon.
Yes.
Okay. The way you answer that makes me think that you don't believe that he saw it.
I did not believe his testimony.
Do you believe that he saw the collision?
No. I don't believe that he saw what he thinks he saw.
Ms. Paltrow, why would he lie?
This is a man.
Goes to motive, Your Honor. But, perhaps that's not the right objection under the rules, so let me be quiet and withdraw my objection.
Can you answer it?
He said he was at 40 feet away and colorblind. I don't know how he can be positive about what he saw, especially with how much he changed his story.
Well, what does colorblind have to do with anything? My husband's colorblind. We tease him all the time that he can't tell red or green. But what does that have to do with not seeing who hit who?
Well, if you have two people in ski gear with helmets on and you're 40 plus feet away, I'm not sure how you can discern who is who.
Okay, well,
And I can tell you that he didn't, because Mr. Sanderson categorically hit me on that ski slope, and that is the truth.
and I'm sure that that's what you believe. I'm not saying
Because it's the truth.
I'm not saying that.
Let's get a question.
So you and Mr. Sanderson, if you're almost 5'10", Terry's 5'5", pushing it.
Your Honor, that's facts not in evidence.
Counsel, you'll have an opportunity to redirect or to direct examine, so go ahead.
If
counsel.
you two stood next to each other, do you think that somebody would confuse the two of you?
I don't know. I'm telling you what happened.
Okay. All right. So you're screaming at Terry, worried that Moses hears you. You admit that you were shaken up.
Yes.
Okay. You don't recall Mr. Ramon being there
I do not.
or asking you if you were okay?
I do not.
Did anybody ask you if you were okay?
I remember Eric Christensen asking me if I was okay, and Brad, my now husband, asking me if I was okay.
Okay, and when you talked to Brad, he was down further, right? Down with
Yes.
Moses. So none of that took place where my client was.
He came over to me after the fall.
Okay. And I just want to make sure you don't have any kind of medical training.
No.
Okay. You don't know what injuries Mr. Sanderson did or did not sustain in the accident.
I do not.
Okay. Are you aware now that you've sat here the last 3 days that he did sustain 4 broken ribs?
Yes.
Okay. Aware that he sustained a concussion?
Yes.
Okay. Are you aware that he had to be taken down on a toboggan?
So we should be clear, like, does she know as a result of this testimony, or does she know personally?
Would you clarify your question?
Yeah, sure. How did you learn that he broke 4 ribs?
Through all of this.
Okay, and to make it clear, I don't want to find out anything that your lawyers told you. That's attorney-client privilege. We can't. So anytime I'm asking you, I don't want you to tell me what your lawyers have told you.
Okay.
Through the court proceedings, is that fair?
That's fair.
All right. You learned that Mr. Sanderson broke 4 ribs.
Yes.
Okay, and that he sustained a concussion.
Correct.
Okay, that he was taken down on toboggan.
Yes.
Did you learn of that day?
No.
Did you inquire?
What is your name again? Sorry. Kristen?
Yes.
Sorry, I was going to say Kristen.
It's all right.
I think you have to keep in mind when you're the victim of a crash, right, your psychology is not necessarily thinking about the person who perpetrated it.
So the answer to my question is no, you did not
I
inquire.
did not.
Okay. Did you ever ask, hey, how was that guy that ran into the back of me? Is he okay? Did you ever ask anybody from Deer Valley about that?
I did not, because at the time I did not know that he had sustained injuries like that. I thought it was very minor on the day.
And you didn't stick around long enough to find that out.
I stuck around long enough for him to say he was okay, to stand up, that he told Mr. Christensen he was okay.
And when he was helped up by Mr. Christensen, again, you weren't right there. You were down a ways.
Just a few feet down, yes.
Could you tell if Mr. Sanderson was still dazed or unsteady on his feet?
I could not. I don't know.
Okay. And again, you didn't leave your name, address, contact information. You didn't fill out any paperwork in connection with this accident.
Eric did on my behalf.
Right, but I'm asking about you personally.
Well, it has been asked and answered.
Sustained.
Okay. After the incident, you skied down, went to lunch, and then my understanding is you got a massage.
So after the accident, I met all the rest of the kids at lunch. We all gathered. We had lunch. And I still felt very shaky, and my knee was bothering me, my back was bothering me, so I decided to go in early and get a massage.
Okay. You never did seek any kind of medical treatment for your knee or your back?
No.
Okay. Now, at the scene, before you skied down and had lunch, there was no indication that Mr. Sanderson knew who you were. Is that fair?
I don't know.
Okay. I think, well, you testified there was no indication of that. You were wearing goggles, a helmet.
Yes.
Okay, kind of looked like everybody else on the slope.
That's always my intention.
Okay. Probably had a better ski outfit, though, I bet.
I still have the same one. I just have one.
Okay. So nobody on the hill would be able to recognize you. Is that fair? Maybe your family and friends.
I have been recognized on ski slopes before.
Okay. Do you recall testifying in your deposition that no one on the hill would be able to recognize me?
That would be the idea.
Okay.
But sometimes paparazzi has a way of figuring it out, is my point.
Okay. So your testimony to the jury here today is Mr. Sanderson skied into you.
That is correct.
All right. Craig Ramone, you said he's not telling the truth, or you don't believe him.
I'm telling you that what he said is not what happened.
Okay. So in other words, if somebody says something that's not what happened, they're lying.
He is not telling the truth.
All right.
I don't know if he knows he's lying, but I'm telling you what he said is unfortunately not the truth.
All right. Well, in addition to Mr. Ramone, you've sat here when some of the experts have testified.
Mm-hmm.
We had Dr. Gibby, and we heard Dr. BAME, I always want to say BOM or BOM,
Yes.
BAME. You've heard their testimony that the only way that Mr. Sanderson's ribs could have been broken where they were is that if he was hit from behind. You disagree with that?
I think it misstates their testimony.
I guess I'm not sure what the objection is, but it's overruled. The jury will have to remember what the testimony was.
That means you get to answer. You disagree with their testimony?
Absolutely, I disagree.
Okay. What medical training do you have to disagree with that?
I'm just telling you the truth of what actually happened.
Okay.
That's all I can do.
All right. And you don't have any other witnesses who sought to support your position, correct?
Well, I have a lot of witnesses who saw the split seconds afterwards and the positions of the bodies on the mountain, which would indicate very clearly who hit who.
Okay. Do you have any witnesses who saw it?
Who saw the collision?
The collision?
No.
All right. And you're not trained in accident reconstruction?
Me?
Yeah.
No.
Neither am I. All right. So, Ms. Paltrow, isn't it true that this was an accident that you caused?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Would you agree that you are accident prone?
So, Your Honor, can we have a bench meeting on this?
Why don't we take our recess now? Mr. Owens?
Yes.
Motion or something?
Your Honor, why are we dealing with things that have been addressed specifically on pretrial motions? And I have to object.
Which motion?
Number 14. Previous unrelated injuries.
The court's ruling on that was that it appears the plaintiff does not intend to inquire into the areas covered by that motion. I think it was represented to the court and the motion was therefore granted. The ruling would be revisited if the defendant opens the door to these areas of evidence at trial. What's the relevance? Let's say she's clumsy. There's been no testimony that clumsiness in any way contributed to the accident.
Your Honor, we also mentioned during that court hearing that questions were asked repeatedly in Ms. Paltrow's deposition if she was accident prone, to which she said, no, I am not, which she has admitted a number of times that she is. So this is all impeachment evidence, and that's when the court said, okay, that's impeachment. Please provide that information to counsel, which I did. He has all of the articles, etc., and the video where Ms. Paltrow went on Jimmy Kimmel saying, yes, I am accident prone, I am always running into things, which is I'm a moron, which is very relevant to this case.
How? Yeah.
Because we believe that that's exactly what she did, is she ran into things like she always does. She was asked if she ever said that. She said no. And we have impeachment evidence that she has.
But you've got your accident reconstructionist did not testify that her clumsiness somehow played a part in the cause of the accident.
It's not just clumsiness, it says she's running into things and that she's accident prone. Absolutely, that's the heart of this. And the point is, she was asked a number of times in her deposition, were you...
And that part I think I see as collateral impeachment, so I don't see that as, I don't see that as your avenue to get the evidence in. The closest, I guess, is your theory of the case, but you've got no expert and no one that testified that clumsiness somehow played a part in the accident. So it would just be argument based on kind of fringe impeachment.
It's not clumsiness. It's being accident prone and always running into things.
Okay.
Which is what we contend she did in this case.
All right. Let me hear from Mr. Owens.
We shouldn't pretend that we have not had this fight before. I'm in deja vu from 2 months ago when when you already ruled on this. The judge, Your Honor, said the ruling will be revisited if defendant opens the door to these areas of evidence at trial. That's part of page 13. I didn't even have the motions around because we've already had it granted, so why would we need to go dig and find out what our motion said? So, Your Honor, Ramon didn't testify that she looked clumsy, for instance. Ms. Paltrow never says, did not say, I've never been clumsy. Anyway, you've ruled, and we're in deja vu here.
I've ruled, under Rule 404, evidence of a person's character or character trait is not admissible to prove that on a particular occasion the person acted in conformity with the character or trait. And under the court's motion in limine decision, it indicates on page 13, motion 14 pertains to her public appearances and previous unrelated injuries. That's the previous instances of that I believe that Ms. Van Orman's referring to. And the court's order says it appears the plaintiff does not intend to inquire into the areas covered by these motions, and the motions are therefore granted. The ruling will be revisited if the defendant opens the door. If that occurs and the plaintiff wishes to present any of the categories of evidence, he must first address this with the court out of the presence of the jury. And I guess there wasn't any request. Is that what your motion that is pending relates to, that you want a clarification?
No, that's regarding the ski expert.
Okay.
But what about prior inconsistent statements, Your Honor? I'm entitled to ask her if she's testified. She's lied under oath a number of times, and I want to be able to show the jury that...
Slanderous, and I want it withdrawn this moment.
Well,
she has testified
just a moment.
inconsistent.
Just a moment. Just a moment.
I'm not gonna say
Well, counsel, I'm talking, okay? Have a seat. Have a seat. Okay, the statement that you just made, do you want to rephrase that?
Yes, absolutely. She has made prior inconsistent statements. During her deposition, Ms. Paltrow was asked a number of times, 3, 4, 5 times.
That may be on this issue. That
Yes.
may be, but to me, without some witness tying it into the essential elements of this case, or the essential issues in this case, I see it as collateral impeachment. So.
Even the fact that Mr. Ramon has testified that she skied into Mr. Sanderson, as in she is also walking into walls, etc.
The ruling was, my understanding was that the plaintiff was not going to inquire into the areas covered by the motions, which included that the previous unrelated injuries or other instances of conduct. So I'm going to stand by my ruling. I haven't revisited it. I think it's a good ruling. So.
I'd like an apology, Your Honor.
There was, and I am sorry, all I'm saying, there were inconsistent statements. I am not trying to slander Ms. Paltrow nor say that she's lying by any which way, form.
We accept. Thank you. My client says she accepts that.
Okay. Thank you. Let's take a short break and come back maybe 5 after.